Hello?
Hey, Coach Beazley, how you doing? This is Corey Jr.
Hi, Corey. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
Hey, Coach Beazley, how you doing? You there?
Hi, yes, sir.
All right. Let's get started.
First, my name's Kevin Beazley. I've been involved with the sport of wrestling my whole life, but I've been competing for 20 years. I started when I was 4 years old. In high school, I started high school at Farmington Hills Harrison for my freshman and sophomore year before transferring to Detroit Catholic Central. Finished out my high school years my junior and senior year. And then I did my undergraduate wrestling at Old Dominion University, where I competed 3 years, and I graduated. And then I transferred to University of Michigan for graduate school and finished my last year of eligibility at the University of Michigan. And currently I'm still training at the University of Michigan, training freestyle in our Clifton Wrestling Club, wrestling for the Michigan Regional Training. We have a fearless leader in Mitch Hancock, and he surrounds himself with a great staff. Mike Carrier, Anthony Biondo, and he's brought in people like myself and Ken Bate that are working with the youth programs. And Mitch just runs a really tight ship. Coach Hancock does a really good job of having his guys all buy in to one goal, which is getting better every day, and the idea of winning a state title and working together as a team. And I think he sets a great precedent where no person is bigger than that team. No individual bigger than what the team has going on. And so you have to buy into his system, which has really created, a lot of high prospective Division I wrestlers. And they all buy into one system, and they want to be around each other and train and get better. It's just a really good environment. Yeah, the recruiting process is quite stressful. And they've changed the rules a little bit since I was being recruited, which I think maybe have made my life a little bit easier. But when I was in high school, college coaches couldn't call you until July 1st going into your senior year. And now that's pushed back here. Now they can call you July 1st going into your junior year. So on July 1st, I think I received 12 to 15 phone calls from Division I schools, just trying to set up home visits, coming to my home, meet my parents and myself, and sit down and talk. And I think I ended up having 12 home visits. And then I set up 5 official recruiting trips. My first official recruiting trip was to Iowa State. And then my second official recruiting trip was to Bucknell. My third was to Old Dominion. And then I canceled my trips to Maryland and Drexel after that, after I went to Old Dominion. But the process is kind of intense. You have coaches calling you. The rule is they can only call you once a week, but you can call them as many times as you want. So I had coaches calling me once about every week until I committed to Old Dominion. But what ODU offered me was pretty unique. They're to stay on the East Coast and be on the water and have such good weather that they have. You don't get many schools like that. When I was at ODU, if they had the threat of snow, they would cancel class, and I thought that was pretty cool. Having lived in Michigan my whole life, no one likes to go to school in the snow, but we're used to it. Those people down in Virginia, they don't know what to do with the snow. So I thought it was pretty cool to be able to go somewhere warm and still wrestle Division I. Coach Martin had a wealth of knowledge, just like all the other Division I coaches. I just think I clicked with him really well when I was down there. And they offered me a pretty good money package, which made my decision a little bit easier. Anytime you can get some money and help out your parents that are willing to help you pay for college, it made that decision a little bit easier as well. college, in general, just in life, is pretty tough. Yet you're accountable for yourself. Your parents aren't there to make you do your homework. They aren't there to make you go to class or help you eat right. So transitioning to that is tough. You've got to be very independent. Got to be self-motivated. Got to be willing to go to class, hold yourself accountable. And so just in life, transitioning from high school to college is tough. And then you throw in being a Division I athlete on top of it, self-motivation. When you got to get the extra runs in and your dad isn't there to encourage you to go on the extra run, you got to do it yourself. And how the college practices are so much tougher. You go from dominating everyone in the room in high school to you're either in the battle every day or you're getting your butt kicked. And you have to buy into the process that your coaches are doing the right things for you. You got to go to class, and believe in the system that your coaches are telling you to believe in by going to class and doing the right things on and off the mat. That transition pretty tough, but for people that can buy into the system and do the right things on and off the mat, it makes it easier. Everyone in college wrestling is good. In high school wrestling, some people are there just to be a part of the team, and that is good. Wrestling in high school, you need those people on your team that are just the team guys. But in college wrestling, everyone's good. So you got to be willing to make the sacrifices to do things differently than all those other guys that are good to separate yourself. And I think that in my transition is that I was willing to do those extra workouts. I was surrounded by great people. My college roommate and training partner, Jack Decco, made that transition a little easier because he also was doing the right things on and off the mat. He was there to do those extra workouts with me, and sometimes he would motivate me to do the extra workouts, and I would motivate him. We held each other accountable by going to class and things like that. And when you can find a good training partner and friend like that, it makes things a lot easier. But that transition is pretty tough. But if you keep a good head on your shoulders and you do the right things, it makes it a lot easier. Yeah, so we'll start Monday morning. Say we had a dual meet on Friday and Sunday. That coming up week. So Monday morning, you usually wake up and you have a 6 a.m. run and lift. And then, so I would usually wake up at 5:30, get a cup of coffee. I wouldn't eat breakfast that early. I would wait. So I'd just have like a glass of water and a cup of coffee. We'd usually drive over to the facility because they're not handing out parking tickets on campus that early. We'd get a run and lift in. And then usually you go home, you shower up, you go home, make quick breakfast, and you head to class. Usually I had class from 9 to about 2, depending, with a little break in there for lunch. So you go to your morning workout, go home, make some breakfast, go back to campus for class for the day. Then usually I would head to the training room. We had practice at 3:30, so I'd head to the training room at 2:15 and go get a little bit of, I called it prehab. So I'd go there and I'll just get some heat or ice and stem, just get ready for practice. My trainer would usually stretch me out. I like to take pretty good care of my body, so my trainer would stretch me out there. Then we'd have practice at 3:30. If early in the week, practice would be a little longer, probably closer to an hour and a half, hour 45. We'd get our drilling in, live wrestling. Coach would work on some technique, and then we'd probably end with a little bit of conditioning. Then after practice, you shower up. I would usually go ice bath, make sure my legs were ready for the next day. You go home, you make dinner. Then that's when you get a little bit of free time. Sometimes you study. My grades were always pretty good, so I never had to study at all, but one of my roommates had a lower GPA, so he would usually take off to go to study hall. I'd usually have my computer out studying while we watched Netflix or hung out through the day. And then you try to go to bed around 10 p.m. because Tuesday, usually we wouldn't do 2 morning workouts. So Tuesday we just have the afternoon, but Tuesday I wake up, go to class, basically do the full thing all over again. So I graduated from ODU early, or not early. I redshirted my freshman year, and then after my redshirt sophomore year, so my third year, I took an Olympic redshirt in 2016. So I took that whole year off of competing, but the NCAA allotted me a 6th year because of that Olympic redshirt. So I had finished all my classes at ODU. I had graduated, and I had the opportunity to come to Michigan for graduate school at the #1 kinesiology program in the country. And with a school like Michigan, it was very much an academic transfer, and then wrestling was secondary. I believed in my coaches at ODU. I believed in the system they had for me. I mean, I All-American while I was there. But to have the opportunity to go to the University of Michigan for graduate school with the #1 kinesiology program in the country and turn that down, I think would have just been a bad life move. You don't turn down the opportunity to get an education like that from the University of Michigan. And then the caveat on top of that was that the team was really good, and I was going to have the opportunity to train with some really awesome people. My dad played the biggest role in my career. He never pushed me. He was a high school coach when I was really young. He coached Montrose for 9 years. He won 4 state titles while he was the head coach at Montrose. But he never forced me into wrestling. I was just always around it, so I loved the sport. And he taught me moves when it was necessary for me to learn moves. Never forced me to attack legs. I loved to throw people when I was a kid. I didn't really ever attack legs. But he never forced me to do it. He figured that it would just eventually come. And they did. So he played a huge role in my career and the reason I love the sport, and he's still my favorite coach to this day. Mitch Hancock is probably the reason I was able to make as big of a jump as I did and be so D1 ready when I finished high school. And Anthony Biondo also, my senior year, he helped me jump levels in my senior year of high school. Those two, I can't thank those guys enough for how much they did for me to make the transition from good to great in high school and make the transition into college. And then my college coaches at ODU, all of them were so awesome. Kyle Hutter, Mike Dixon, Steve Martin, those guys made my life so awesome. It's so much easier at ODU, and I got a lot better when I got there. And then everyone knows the Michigan coaching staff is unreal. But I still get to work with those guys, and everyone knows them. But so I'd say my dad and Mitch and Anthony really helped me the most to get to where I am. I don't think there's a greater sport in the world that prepares you for life. The things you deal with, the adversity you deal with in the sport of wrestling, the wins, how to handle wins and losses, the discipline it takes to maintain your weight, still be a good person, not be bitter and angry all the time, walking around cutting weight, still be a good human as you walk around when you cut weight, and learn to deal with the adversity of wins and losses, and the gladiator aspect that the sport teaches you. Most other sports, not taking anything away from them, I just don't think many other sports teach you the things that wrestling teach you, the discipline, the dedication it takes to be so good at the sport for such little reward. It's not like football and basketball players who get to go and make millions of dollars if they're really good. Even something to be the best in the world in the United States, you only make $250,000 to win the Olympics, and that's if you're the best ever, one of the best to ever do it. So we're not doing this for the glory. We're doing it just because we love it, and it teaches us so many things that you take with you off the mat. I read this article from Forbes that many of the Fortune 500 companies love to hire wrestlers because of their hardworking nature, their go-get 'em attitude, and how well they deal with adversity.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We appreciate it. Our subscribers are really, really going to learn a lot from this particular interview. It's really nice when we have an opportunity to share some insight from a guy like you, you know what I mean, in terms of the sport. You've lived it. So we really appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all for having me on there.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great night.
Thanks, y'all too.